see just someone joined now. I think Venkatesh. So Venkatesh, we are retaking metrics and relationships for today since the last session is not recorded. So the current section is being recorded. So chapter 11 is metrics and 12 is relationships, right? We'll get into metrics. Generally, in English, what do you call metrics? Metrics is something that you want to, it's kind of a report, or you want to have some data, probably regarding time value or how much time it took, how much people it took, a lot of things like that, right? Metrics is generally called as a data report, something like that. Similarly, in ServiceNow also, so let us say I'm telling you I want a report of I'm telling you, I'm giving you a requirement. I want a report of how much time has been taken uh, by the person called system administrator to work on a. Okay, there's only three fields. Let me change the view to default view so that I will see multiple fields here. And even after that, if I do not get anything, I will choose personalized list and bring things to the right. Okay, so there are few tickets that are worked by Beth Angelin, right? So I will filter down to that. I can see that there is one ticket closed by them. So let us say somebody asks you, hey, can you just tell me how much time, how much time the Angeline has taken to resolve the incident number 21. So generally, what would you do is you will just, bring on the created or opened, created minus opened, right? So this one. I'll do a filter, filter to show matching to show only this record. So created to resolved. So resolved minus created will give you that time. In addition to that, you see something called auto generated numbers, right? So this should be in in seconds, I guess. Let me do seconds to hours, days, maybe 84 days. If I put days, it tells me that it is 84 days. Hmm. So I'm trying to see if this is microseconds or milliseconds or okay, this is not possible for a millisecond. I think it is seconds. So it is 84 days. So if you calculate the difference also, 11th of December, okay, 11th of December to 11th of January is 1 month, to 11th of February is 2 months, which is 60 days, and then 11th to 22nd. Okay, so it approximately comes to this 84 days count, right? So you can see that system has automatically calculated the difference between this date and this date, created minus resolved, and it has stored it in seconds. So you might be able to bring out a difference and give your management a report. But honestly, if you look at the incident, there could be a possibility that this incident was assigned to Beth only 2 days before the result date, right? So at that time, it is a wrong matrix. Okay, there isn't any scenario with this incident, but there could be a possibility wherein originally it was assigned to Mr. David Lu or something, imagine, and then it stayed on the queue until December fully it was on David's queue. January fully it was on David's queue, and then finally on February 1st it was assigned to Beth Angeline. Now, if you see honestly, how much time that Beth Angeline took to resolve this ticket is probably 27 days, right? But the report says 84 days, which is incorrect. Now, how do you determine? You cannot just open every single incident and look at the activity logs and identify, okay, when was this ticket assigned to them, and when was it reassigned to somebody, and the final reassigned person took how much time. So that you will not be able to find it uh, unless you look at each of the every records, open them, right? That is a complex work. This is one example. The other example is same with assign to, let us say for assignment group, right? It could have been stayed on service desk for 1 week, and then they would have reassigned it to Outlook team, and Outlook team would have resolved. But genuinely, Outlook team took only 1 week. But if you see the difference between created and resolved, it would say 2 weeks, right? But the actual time took by the Outlook team is only 1 week. Now, for such scenarios, how do we determine? So I have given you example for a change of values in assignment group and assign to. We can also identify how long it was in P5 and how long it was in P4, how long, right? That definition of how long it was there on a particular state or a particular assignment group or on a particular assigned to or on a particular subcategory. So all these you could determine based on developing metric definitions, right? Any questions with regard to why do we need metric definitions? Whatever explanation I, any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Now let us identify how do we create metric definitions and how it is useful at the end. So I go and type metric in the left navigation. So under metrics application module, I see definitions and I see instances. Definitions is what is available to the admin or the developer, and we will create definitions. And whatever is the end output result will come up in the instances, right? So let us look at the development of definitions. So there are several definitions created for several table. For easier note, I can explain you the ones that are available for incident. So everything on the top says test, 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 right? Before loading. The reason is because our in branding editor, my title bar I've kept it as test. That's why it says like that. I will give you field level non-scripted explanations first. Okay. So you don't have to write any script when you have enabled the timeline and when you have defined the table and the field, right? And if you have put field level duration, if you put script level script calculation, you might have to put scripts. But this basic one I'll explain. So this is just a developer name that you give, and this is a auto-generated number. Like for instance, for every record, how system is automatically generating new numbers, like that. And this is one is the name that you might want to see in the related list, like in incident table in the bottom. What is the name it should say? That is what is this one.
So
And
we can
then,
keep any. There is no naming convention for name, right? We can keep anything.
yeah, you can keep it anything. You can say that changes in assignee metric, changes in assignee metric. Like you can rename it like that also. It doesn't matter. And here you have table and field, like you want to track down the changes of the field assigned to on the table incident, and you want to track down the duration of the field value, like it says type is field value duration, right? So let's say the assigned to field was stored as David Lou is a one person, okay, and how long it was assigned to him. So the field value duration. So system will start calculating whenever one person's name is populated on that, and that calculation will stop only that person's name is replaced with somebody else. Like if I put David Loom and after 2 hours if I put Beth Angeline. So when I entered David Lou, the timer will start and the timer will end only after I change the value to something else. It could be Beth Angeline, it could be empty or something. So the time taken for the value to be unchanged, like how long David Lou's name was there on this field, is what it will be tracked on, assigned to duration of that particular incident, right? Similar to that, you have incident state duration, right? Incident state, and incident and assignment group. Now I will let me take any open incident. All right, this one is an open incident. Already there are five metrics. Okay, I will rename it to. I will change the assign to from Beth Angeline to um, Dawn Goodlife. Dawn Goodlife, and at the same time, I will also change the incident state and save this record. Previously, there were five metrics on the related list, right? Now you can see there were seven metrics created. Now, how could somebody see a matrix is you have to do a right click, configure the related list, right? So in related list, you should not check for the words like assigned to duration, nothing. All these are components of metrics, right? So you just have to do control F metrics. You should not search it for assigned to you should not search it for like assigned to duration, instance state duration, nothing. Just have to search for the related list called metrics, and this related list will bring you all metric definitions applicable for this table. For example, for incident table, you don't just have let me look at the active ones. All are active, right? You don't just have one metric definition. You have seven metric definitions, right? So it will bring up it will bring up all the uh, all the metric definitions that got satisfied for this incident record. For example, here you can see the definition called assigned to duration, incident state duration, and again assigned to, and all these, right? So there was something that happened on 12 days back and 24 hours back. This is something we tested yesterday. And these two records, 1 minute ago, it was tested today, right? And I can show you. So assigned to duration. Yesterday we changed it from Fred Luddy to Beth Angeline, and we left it. After the session, we left it. It's been 24 hours. And now that we have changed from Beth Angeline to Dawn Good Life, so how long was it assigned? How long is the duration? How long was it assigned to Beth Angeline? So for that question, the answer is 23 hours and 54 minutes, right? And the calculation is complete, right? So it says calculation is complete. Whereas now that we have changed to Dawn Good Life, so the start timer has started and it will end only after I change it from Dawn Good Life to somebody else. Until then, the duration will not be populated, end will not be populated, and calculation is still running, right? So it will say false, meaning it is still running. Any question? Probably I can just change. I will duplicate this tab. I will change it from Dawn Good Life to David Lowe. Save this record. So previously you had seven records, and for Dawn Good Life, we created the record 3 minutes ago. So let me refresh. So for refreshing, I just have to double click here. It is more than enough, or else you do a right click on somewhere on this header, and you do a, yeah. So you click on this small hamburger menu, and you click refresh list, or else you just click on this hyperlink, it will get refreshed. So you could see that assigned to duration of Dawn Good Life was for 2 minutes, right? So it started at this time and it ended at this time. So it was exactly 2 minutes. And now new counter, new duration clock started for David Lu. This is a typical example for assigned to evaluation. Like this, we have already defined it for active field, incident state, assignment group, and all of that, right?
Got it.
Okay, so this one seems to be a calculated one. So when you do a calculated one is, for example, you don't need the exact from and to, right? It's not just the duration between this to this. Instead, you wanted to subtract it from something and then populate it with a value. At that time, you would use a calculated one. Let me filter down to the ones that are scripted, and I'll show you one example. Okay, when an instant goes to okay, nice. This is a good example to explain. So there is a metric definition that was created that goes by the name to resolve duration, right? So what it does is whenever an incident goes into the state resolved or closed, calculate the duration from open, right? If you see an incident, we have multiple states, like for example, new, in progress, on hold, resolved, and closed, and all of that, right? So here also, if you see, there is two fields. One is state, and there's another thing called incident state. Do you see incident state and state? This incident state field is applicable only for incident, whereas state field is applicable for all task related records. As in, same set of fields, you will see it in problem, change, and everywhere, like common fields. But incident state fields, these are applicable only for incident states, right? Now, they want to calculate the timing only between open and resolved. So let me look at the script. So they're looking at the incident state. So incident state is greater than or equal to 6. Let us see what is 6. 6 is resolved, right? See, I just entered 6 and I gave enter. And in system, okay. And system tells me that it is resolved. So I'll put a comment and I'll say 6 is resolved. This is just for our understanding. So anything greater than 6 is number 7 is greater than 6, right? So let me see what number 7 is. Number 7 is closed. Okay, so 7 is closed. That's all. You would not have anything other than that. Like let me put 8. 8 is cancelled. Cool. This 8. I think that is it. You will not have anything for 9. But anyways, let us check. Nothing for 9. When I do 9 and I give enter, system does not tells me. It's just as such, right? If you're a little confused about this, I can show you. I'm doing a right click configure all. What is this number and value? It's a little confusing, right? Like if I put 8, why is it showing as closed? If I put it as 7, why is it showing as result? So I can tell you how that data is being retrieved like that way. In dictionary entry, I will just choose incident state. Let me open this in a new tab. Here you have choices. How many choices? You have 17 choices, like new, on, old, and all of that. Um, you remember in plugins classes, we installed a French translation. So probably since we installed French translations, it was 6 days ago, right? Yeah, you can look at the recording of July 7th. We were taking plugins classes. At that time, I installed a plugin called French translation. So the moment I installed the plugin, across hundreds of table, wherever required, it inserted by its own the translation for all the choices and everything. So you can see the updated date. It was 6 days ago. But whereas the English ones, new is in English, right? Language is English. It was created 4 months ago. But the other ones and all say 6 days ago, and the language says FR, which is French. This is just to give you an overview of what happened. Now, just to avoid confusion, let me filter down to English alone. You can see, as expected, we have six states new in progress. But for human eyes, it is new in progress. For system, these are different values. New is represented by 1, in progress is represented by the value 2, like this. For each one, we have associated a value. So when you do scripting, you should not check, oh, incident state is equal to closed. If you check like that, it will not work. It will always say false, false. You will have to check instance state is equal to 7, right? So system can read it only based on the choice values, not the choice labels, right? And what is the sequence field is, when I hover, it says when where it appears in the select box, right? Nothing but, if I open up an incident, I see a drop down, right? So who said that new should come in the top and second in progress? There's a sequence, right? New for coming on the first, in progress on the second, on hold in the third, resolve in the fourth. So how it is determined is, it is based on what is the sequence that you give. So we have given 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. You can just give, like, it just has to be on incremental, right? You remember how I told for order, ORDER, order for any client script or dictionary entry. Same like that for choice, you call it a sequence. I can put it as 10, not a problem, but I have to make sure that the other numbers are incremental. It can be 15 or 20, or this could be 18. 18 is larger number than 15, right? So this is an incremental. So I just have to make sure that uh, these are incremental. It doesn't, it doesn't have to be difference of 1, difference of 5, nothing. So I can right away jump into 70, 75. It can be anything, doesn't matter, but just that you have to put on the incremental order as you want the system to be displayed, right? Yeah. So this, I just dumped into this because we were testing onto that states, how states and backend values are associated. Again, coming into the main topic of this script, right? So script is evaluating yes, right? Yes is nothing but a variable yes. So instead of that yes, I can put my state like this, okay? And I just have to make sure the same word is used here. So my state is nothing but current. Current is what? Current is incident table. Current is nothing but incident table. Incident tables, i- incident state, right? So incident tables incident state is stored in the word or variable called my state. Now they're doing a validation if my state, whatever is the value stored, is greater than or equal to 6, meaning if it's either 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 whatsoever, right? But when we verified across the system, 6 is resolved, 7 is closed, and 8 is cancelled, right? At that time, it will be calling a function called create metric. So this create metric, like, this is the just my own name. I can put hello, call my script, right? But same function name, I have to put it here as well. So the moment system says hello, call my script, it will jump into line number 10. And the syntax is like this: function declaration and the function name, uh, function parenthesis, curly braces, right? Don't be too much confused. If you understand this basics, the same scripting will repeat everywhere. It's not really complicated. Once you know at one place how to write a script, the same set of code will be repeated every single place. It's not really complex. And now, um, so when I click here, there's no underline or anything, right? But when I click here, there is an underline. So this is actually a script include. When I do a right click, I'll show again. When I hover onto here, it says me an underscore. It means that this is something else. This script is further stored in somewhere else place. So I do a right click and I do open definition. So it'll take me to a script include where I can see this function, metric exist function. Control F, metric exist, right? So there is some script up here. Now I don't want you to confuse like what is how to write this and all of that. This I will explain you separately when we come into business rules or client records. But I'm trying to tell you a point that you for metrics definitions you don't just create a direct a straightforward field value duration. But if requirement is there, you can also create complicated logics using the script available, right? You just have to instead of putting field value duration, if you put field value duration, you require no script. System just calculates whenever one states move from other, right? But when you put script calculation, you can invoke any complex logic or plus a and b and minus it with c. You can do anything like that. If you
Hello,
had
I
done
just have one question.
mm,
So you changed the values of a new progress hold, right?
I did not change the values of in progress new hold. Instead, I changed the sequence values. Like
Oh, sequence. Okay.
sequence, yeah, I did not change the backend values. I would not dare
Okay.
to change it. Reason is
So if
because that
we can
backend
also change
values,
backend values, right?
no, don't change it. If you're creating a new catalog item, you're creating a new table, fine. But for incident table, don't change it. Why I'm saying is because we just bumped
Mm,
upon our script where they're using greater than or equal to 7, right? There could
mm,
be some few more business rules, few more scripting other places where they might have used oh if equal to 6, right? So if you change it here, you would have to change it in all other places wherever the script is being called, wherever a script is being called for instance state evaluation. Like if instance state is 6 or instance state is 1, there will be a script to do perform certain actions, right? If you change the backend
yes.
value, everything is messed up. Like everywhere it is being invoked or recalled, you have to change everywhere. So while creating itself, you will have to be very sure what you want to create. Like you're developing a new application, instead of creating value one, you can just put new also, not a matter, right? It is not
So
necessary that
in yes.
I will rechange it now again, no problem. It doesn't creates an
Mm,
impact. So
okay.
it is not necessary that you have to have values only as integers. It can be names also, like new like that. I can show you other examples where people have used um names instead of numbers. Do you see? This is label. This is
Yes.
value. There's a table called AI's dictionary team, and in label they have kept draft, and the backend value is proper uppercase draft. So it is not necessary that um, you have to keep only this numbers or anything. But as I told you, when you handle with variable name or values or any backend names, there is strictly no spaces and no special characters, anything other than underscore. No semicolon, no quotation, nothing. Just underscore is allowed. Right, yeah. So coming back to this, here what they want to do is they want to calculate the difference between start date and end date. So start date is nothing but the current means incident, right? Incident create date and end date is nothing but incident updated date. So basically, create to resolve duration, they are trying to calculate the time taken between created and updated, right? So that is what they're trying to put it here. But imagine instead of script calculation, if you just put field value duration, what will happen? What will happen is it will take the time taken between in progress to resolve or on hold to resolve, like, right, that one state to another state. It will not take state A to D, it will take state A to B, what is the time, and another record state B to C, what is the time, state C to D, what is the time, right? But instead of instead of having every split up values, they want to identify how much time it took from for state A to D, directly jumping into state A to D. I will show it again. So they're taking two fields, start and end. Start means created on, end means updated on. So they're trying to get the date difference between start and the end, right? But if you instead of using script, if you directly put, what will happen? System is gonna check the time calculation difference of progression between one state to another, not like created to resolve, right? It will, if you jump from a state in new to in progress, like 2 hours means 2 hours will be taken count. Then from in progress to on hold, if you take 1 hour, that 1 hour, so you will have end up 5 records, having one record as 2 hours, another record 1 hour, like that. You will not get a cumulative count, together count. So they so since their requirement is that they want to have a cumulative count of time difference taken between created and last updated, right, when the ticket is resolved or closed, then at that time they're trying to invoke this logic. And any questions of this is one typical example of how you could use script when you have a complete different logic. You just do not want to settle down with just the field value, field progressions. Instead, you wanted a cumulative, or you wanted to, some people will want to do like this also, like this plus this minus that I wanted. There will be some math also, right? Some logic. All the time you can use scripted metric definitions.
Okay, once explain from line 10th line onwards, that script.
Okay. So till this you understood, and once it calls hello, call my script, it will jump into this line and it will do whatever is there in line between line 10 to 21, right? So in line number 11, uh, new is like initialization to call a script include. And if you see this word, font alone is different, right? And if you hover on, it says an underline. Wherever you see like that, you should register in your mind, oh, it's a script include, right? There's something called script include. This is all will be coming in the later session, don't get confused now. This is script include. So what you have to do is do a right click and open definition. So once I do that, took me here. Inside that, how many lines of script I have? I have 65 lines of script, but I do not have to worry about everything. I just have to look at the function called metric exist. So why do I know that this is a function? Is because it ends with a parenthesis, right? So this script include is stored in a variable called mi, and mi's function that goes by the name metric exist. So I just have to look at the function called metric exist. So here what they are doing is there's a table called metric instance. If you ask me what is a metric instance is, hold on. You remember I showed you under metrics you have definitions where people develop definitions, and instances where people see the result, right? See the result, like incident David Lou, start and end time 2 minutes. This is where the results is stored in. That table is nothing but metric definition. If you see the URL, you can see the table name is metric instance, right? So they are looking at the metric instance and they are saying if such a record already exists. For my same metric definition, do I have such a record already exist? Check that, and if that record exists, return true, otherwise return false, right? So uh, once if record exists, it will return. It will not proceed to line number 14, 15, nothing. It's just keep quiet and it will return. That is what instructed in line number 13. If at all this metric exists returns false, then it will if it returns true or false, accordingly it will identify whether I need to go to next line of code or not, right? If it is written true, it will return. If it is written false, then I can jump into the next line. So what this next line is, they're trying to insert a new record on the same instance table, metric instance table. So before inserting, they're trying to keep the start date as nothing but created date, end date as updated date, and duration is difference between start date and end date. And here also you have a field called see start date, end date, duration. You have a field called calculation complete, right? There's a field called calculation complete, which they're trying to set it true, and they're trying to insert the record. Any questions? If you understand the logic but just by saying, I'm happy. But don't worry that will I be able to say write the same script, that we have it in future scripting sessions. But as long as if you could understand by reading the code as far as what I've explained, I'm happy with it. That should be more than enough for now. Any questions, ask me right away.
Hi Lakshmi.
Yes, yeah.
Um, what type of metrics we need to add? How will we get to know? Like time of duration, assigned to duration, all these are there, right? So what are the types of metrics that we have? How to find out?
Okay, you have something called scripted and field value duration, right? The requirement, like we should do this plus this minus this one you're asking, right? That we will get to know based on business requirement. Business will tell you, hey, I want to know the time taken between this date and this date minus that. For example, you might end up a requirement. People want to add the time between new in progress resolved minus closed, right? If time taken between new to in progress is 2 hours, let's imagine. Again, in progress to hold is 1 hour, so 2 plus 1 3, okay? And on hold to resolve is 1, again 1 hour, so 2 plus 1 plus 1 4 hours, right? They want to
Yes.
say 4 minus on hold. On hold is something, it is not our mistake, right? It
Yeah.
is not the assignee mistake. It is pending for some information, either from caller or vendor, something. It is not his problem. So they want to do a minus plus of all of these and minus of hold. Then 2 plus 1 minus 1, which will end up with 3. This
Yeah.
is one typical requirement. Excuse.
Yeah. Got
This
it.
is one typical requirement. Like this, business teams will tell us. In ServiceNow, you have roles of business analyst, okay? Business analyst slash process owners. I'll tell you, like when you go into a company scenario, what kind of people will be there. There will be people called business analyst or process owners whose responsibility is to give requirements. Hey, I want like this. I want a new field like this. I want that, this, right? They will be giving requirement. Also, there will be end users. End users means the people who are getting utilized by this tool, right? They will also
Yeah.
be giving requirement. But what will happen is their requirement has to be approved by business analyst. Like anybody coming and saying, hey, I want it like this, you cannot keep on adding as and when new people come, right? You could have 1 lakh you employees using this tool. So as a developer, you will not be able to determine is it really beneficial to the business or not, any requirement that they are asking for. So business analyst will review it and say, hey, go ahead, Mr. or Miss so and so, you can develop this, right? They will also say requirement. And you have developers, which is us, right? And there are some people called techno functional business analyst. What will happen is these are typically managers or architects, like that. As in, like let us say you have 10 years of experience, okay? And you jumped into managerial role, but also you you have with you the benefits of technical knowledge in ServiceNow. You know to code, you know to develop configurations and everything. And also, since your managerial role or something, you know what the business requires, you know the functional aspects of the organization. So now you would be, you can also do the role of a techno functional business analyst. Usually, business analyst will know only process, they do not know whether something is possible or not and how much time it will take. Say they will just ask the developer, hey, can you do this, develop this for us, and how much time will it take, and is it possible or not. Now this developer can cheat or just tweak the information and say this is not possible, no, it's going to take 10 hours. Like they can do anything, right? But whereas the benefit of having a techno functional business analyst in an organization is he knows how much time it's going to take, and he knows is it possible or not, and he know the functional aspects of the business and the requirements of the business. He comes with the knowledge of both. So
Yeah.
many organization does not prefers only business analyst, they prefer in fact techno functional business analyst. So that developers don't tweak the information or take more time. Yeah, so coming back to the point, it is the business analyst or the end users or the requirement providers who give you this requirement. Our job is just to fulfill the requirement.
Okay.
As an admin also, as a developer also, um, your job is to only fulfill the requirement. But obviously you can give them suggestions, like if they ask you to do a certain way, but you know another way as a developer which could give more benefits or better performance, you can suggest them, yeah, I can do that, but instead of this I'm planning to keep it like this, is that okay? Because you have the technical expertise, right? So with that you can give that information to them. Right. So with that, we'll close for metric definitions. If you do not have any questions, and we can jump into related list. Any questions? Please ask me right away.
Once run that code and show the result.
Okay, this one I will
Yes.
refresh it so that my changes does not reflects it back here. So this one goes under the name open. So just to keep it unique, I will save it like this: open test. I have not changed anything, right? Oh, fine, right. This one will be working only when I change my state to resolved or closed. Now, just for time's sake, I will just jump from one state to another. And finally, I'll put it as resolved. Marked to resolved. Previously, there were 8 metrics available. Now it has jumped to 11. Okay. So it was originally incident state, right? I just changed it when I was trying to test it. Incident state. Okay, okay, okay. I'm refreshing it, I'm not saving it. Okay, I'm very sorry. So we were looking at this one, right? Incident state when incident goes into resolved. add info message is something similar to alert. Okay, so just to check it, I'm keeping it like this. Okay, there is something called already called yeah, it was created 2 minutes ago, and you could see that 157 days, 6 hours, 10 minutes. I will repeat again. The name says create to resolve duration, right? So you can see that it got created 2 minutes ago, and the definition is create to resolve duration, and this is obviously on the incident 4.6. And here value is not required, because if you look at the script itself, the populating start date, the populating end date, duration, and calculation complete, only four fields. So as you see, one field, two field, three field, and four field, right? They do not populate value, so that's why it is empty. So start date is nothing but as they gave, it is created date, and end date is nothing but as they gave, it is updated date. And duration is the difference of start and the end, which is 157 days. Any questions? So in your this one is not developed by us; it was already available out of box. So in your PDIs, what you can do is you can go to any of the existing incident. You can just push from one state to another, and finally make sure that it jumps into resolved or closed anything. And after that, right click configure related list, bring the metrics, and just look for the definition called create resolve duration. You will find it just like you see in my screen.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
In the matrix definition screen, can
Mm.
you please go on the screen for me?
Yes.
So here we type the script, right? And
Right.
now the type is field value duration. So do we need to change the type when we type the script, or what? What should we select as a type as we are typing the script?
Okay, it has to be script calculation, but nevertheless,
Yeah,
when
that's
script is available, it will take precedence.
okay. So I don't need to change it frequently when I'm doing scripting.
No, no, it is like a one-time configuration, yeah. Like one more thing is any script development or any configuration changes, you would never do it in your production instance. You will do it in your development instance, and it will be validated in one instance called a test. In your company, let's say
Mhm,
your company is technology ABC, so it will say the instance name will say technology ABC prod,
mhm,
and you will have another instance called technology ABC dev, technology ABC test. So any
oh,
development you do, you will do it in development instance, and using updates you will take it to test instance, and your business analyst or whomsoever will validate it only in test instance. And once they
mhm,
give a go ahead, or testers or business analyst, anybody who's testing, they'll say go ahead, and after that from test instance you will push it to the production. Like these script changes, we should not do it in production directly,
mhm.
because let's say I just for debugging I kept a error message here, right? So
Yeah.
what if something like this comes up on the screen for end users, which is wrong, right? And one more thing,
Yes.
I might have just forgettingly kept another this thing, like some syntax error, and this might be error. So we cannot play around in production instance. So you would rarely or never do any changes
Mhm,
in production right away. In fact, 90% of the organization does not give admin access to developers in production, because they know that if a developer messes up somewhere in development, they will try to do a shortcut and fix it in production.
yeah.
Right, some mistakes which are not identified by business analyst or testers, but later you realize it as a developer, oh, I did that mistake. So without telling anybody,
Mhm.
you'll try to change that in production. So for that reason, 90% of the organization do not give admin access to developers in production.
Okay. Mhm.
Right, so any other
Yeah.
questions?
Yeah.
All right. So in related list of metric definitions, you can see which all incidents uh, has been utilized or for which this metric definition was triggered. This instance, and all these you can see it up here. Right. If there are no questions, I will jump into related list. We have only 10 more minutes. This is clear, right? Related list is even more simple. That can be done in 10 minutes. Now, you saw metrics, right? So how did we bring metrics here, or how did we bring attachments, these things? As you know, this is a form, and all the field values that you see inside the form are residing inside the table incident or its parent table task, right? But it is not coming from some random table like change table or cmdbci table, nothing. It is all coming from incident table. So that's why you call this as one form. And probably for users better visibility or look and feel good, you are categorizing into sections. So these are sections, right? And inside this section you keep few fields, inside this section few fields. But if you scroll down, you see something like this, right? These are called as related list, meaning these can be from the same table also, these can be from different table also. For example, you have attachments, right? Attachments are coming from attachments table. It is not an incident table. But there is one field that is common between attachment and this. That is nothing but the table society. I can show it in an example for you. Again, task SLA. This is coming from a different table called task SLA. But there is one common between this and this. That is nothing but instance ID or something. It will be there. I have pushed everything to the right so that I can identify it right away. Which field is that? So basically, when you want to develop a related list, their related list means there is a relationship between that table and this table, right? So there has to be at least one common field that has a connection between that and this. 1 minute, let me confirm it's all being recorded. Yes, it is.
Uh, Everything is
Yes.
done under self-service view, right?
View is like in self-service view, only few fields will be available. View is nothing, doesn't gives you any major change. Just that, see, self-service view is for people who are the requesters. Like they don't have to see a lot of information. They don't have to see resolution notes and all of that. So in self-service view, you will see only few fields. Right now we are in default view, which is like a broader view, meaning you generally have more fields. So that is just the difference between views, nothing much.
Uh,
So for task SLA, I was trying to say that what is that one common field between incident and task SLA is that you have one field called a task in task SLA table, which is referencing to your incident table, right? So this field is the common field. So here you can see that task is equal to so and so. That's a common field, right? So only when such a condition exists, you can develop relationship. uh, when there is no common field between two tables, you definitely cannot develop a relationship, right? Let me attach a sample attachment test. So in attachment related list, right now we have nothing, right? But when I refresh, I can see there is one attachment here. So the common between these two is table sys so in attachments table is something like it can store the attachments of literally any tables across ServiceNow, right? So how it is handling that is it has some columns called table name and table society. So it puts table name is incident, right? This attachment was attached in incident table, right? And then uh, incident table fine, but on which attachment? On the attachment that has the society so and so. So as you should be aware, any ticket might or might not have a unique number. For example, incident table has a unique number which is nothing but INC number. And again, problem table has a unique number called PRB number. But if you see user table, does it have any unique number? Nothing. There's nothing called number also, right? But how can system identifier, unique identifier is this sys id, sys underscore id. So every record has something called sys id, which is unique across the system, meaning with the same 32 digit character combination, you will not find it anywhere inside this instance. Like in not just in the incident table, if you look at user table, that this nothing with the same combination, you will not find it. So this is in fact the actual unique identifier. So that is what you call it as record sys id. So it stores incident and sys id. So this is the common parameter between this and this. Task SLA number is a common parameter, right? So it works like that. And the importance of bringing an attachment related list is that, see, if you look here, you will just see the name and see the file format, only that much, right? And what else you would be able to see? You can see the image also in the activities, but you might not see what is the image size and all of that unless you download it and check in your properties of your downloaded file. But whereas here you have access to check the bytes, how much is the size and the image height, width, all these information you will be able to see. So just to bring them more idea about this, you can have this attachment related list. And again, as I told you, audit history, right? The benefit of having audit history. So for any end user, they will check the history based on the activities log in this place, right? But if you ask me if everything will be coming up here, no, it will not come up. Only the ones that are checked here, like additional comments assigned to opened by priority, sent or received email, short description, only these will be coming up here. If you look at here, there is no such thing called watch list, right? I have a field called watch list and I don't see here. So let us say I add myself or add somebody's name inside this. Okay, and I save this. Do you see anything in the activities? The activities still remains to be 17. You don't see anything. But in fact, there was an activity change, right? We added watch list. So somebody would expect to know when this watch list was added, right? So what gives you better information is the audit history. In this, you can see that watch list was updated with system administrator and Alan Reback at this specific time. So audit history shows 78, whereas activity shows only 17. So you understand the difference, right? Activity does not necessarily has to show all the records. It will show only the ones that we have configured for the people to see. And if you want to change the configuration, you can do it here. Again, this is a development activity. You should not do it right away in production. This is again a development activity. But this checkbox and unchecking are user personalization, not just I and you, but in fact, end users can also do it. This can be done directly in production. Whatever you change here applies only to you. It does not impact other people. But when you see the word configure, you will have to keep in your mind whatever I'm going to do now is going to apply for other people as well. So here you have to take a pause and you have to understand that this has to be done only in development and obviously taken to test and production, right? Now that I have given you the importance of why we would need related list and all of that, if this is clear, I can jump into how do we create a related list. Any questions so far? All right, I take that as a no. So, as I told you, when you do right click configure related list, there are already like hundreds of related lists that were already auto generated by the system or created by the system. You don't have to create. But there will be few requirements wherein you want to create because that was not originally in the system. At that time, you will try to create ones. So, let me show you what are the existing available ones, right? You have these many. So, you can just, drag and drop and see what each one is capable of. But let us say you have a requirement to create new one. Related list, right? If you look at related list in left navigation, you will not get it. You have to look for the word relationship. So under system definition, So a lot of the development works that you see will be always be coming under system definition only. So under system definition, you have something called relationships, right? So I can see 376 created. Let us look at only the ones that are available for incident table. Why I'm again showing incident table is because you have hundreds of table. If I show a configuration example in different table, at that time process wise it will not be able to understandable for you, which makes it difficult for the development. So when you learn something, learn with something, a process that you already know. So I assume incident is something a common, a basic thing, so everybody will know about it. So from there I'm trying to teach the development perspective, and whatever you learn from here you can apply it to any other table, right? So if I look at how many relationship as they were we have built on incident table, there's only one. But if you ask me why do we see hundreds of things here, these are out of box and it does not require an entry in this configuration. It is, the relationship is already established, it does not have to be made an entry here. That is why. Now, I will go ahead and explain what are the each components of this table. So you have fields like applies to table, queries from table, and what is the field? Okay, applies to and queries, right? Whatever you put it on applies to will be okay. So I'll show you here. Okay. So let us say I'm trying to develop this history mm, audit history relationship. Then I will put applies to as instant table, right? Applies to is instant table, and audit history table as queries from table. And I will put current dot add query. What is that one common field between these two? I have to identify what is this one common field between these two. The common field is audit society. Yeah. 1 minute. No. The common field is setter. Give me 1 minute. It is a reference. I'm trying to identify one common field between these two, right? So, okay. So, the one common field is not in fact a direct field. Instead, it is set dot id. Set id. Set dot id is this, right? You got it? What is this? This also you can remove. So this is the syntax. Set id, that is, it is nothing but this records id, right? So this is called set, and inside that I'm doing a dot working. So set to dot id. So set to dot id is my current sys id. So this is something already available out of box, right? But let me create a new one. Doesn't not a problem. I'll create a new one. My custom audit history for incident. This is the name I'm going to give it for my relationship. So applies to table is on which table I want this to be shown. I want this to be shown on incident table, right? And where the data has to be queried from, I want this to be queried from this table, sys history line. So I'll type history. If I just type history, it's like too many, right? If I just type history, it's too many and it's difficult for me to search. Like I'll have to drag and drop. So I'll just put the backend name of the table, sys history line. So it's easier for me to get it now. And this code of line is, it's default. Like I mean, whenever you try a new record, when I try to create a new record, it comes by default, so you don't have to worry. Now current, your current represents incident table. Current dot, what is the I mean, in history line table we have kept this thing, right? So I'll do a copy query so that I know the backend names of these. Add query. I'll put set.id is nothing but parent dot sys id. Okay, let me save this. It's a new record I'm saving. Now that all right. So I'll do a right click, configure related list. What is the name I gave? My custom audit history for incidents. Okay. So you see 78 here, you see 78 here as well, right? So it means that I have to put the exact logic. If my logic, like, if I put just set, it will not work. If I put like, if I put wrongly here, if I put current dot query, some syntax error in this, it will not show me this exact 78 record. Since my query is correct, it shows, right? So I've tried to replicate whatever we have it in audit history. So you can see the 78 records. So now that you have seen the result, I will quickly again explain this, okay? Whichever whichever table you want the new relationship to be available, that you put it as applies to table. Because whichever records that you're going to show, it is going to appear on incident table, right? So that is where you put applies to table. Sometimes you might get confused which one is applies to, which one is queries to. That's why I'm trying to say this again and again and put this on your mind. On which table you want to see this, there you put it as applies to table, okay? And the data should be coming from some other table, right? That some other table is nothing but queries from some other, right? From that you put it here. Now um, here the main table is incident table, right? That is where all things are going to show up. So the main table is called as the parent table, let us say. So when you want to call any values of this table, you will put parent dot parent dot. So that is nothing but parent dot sys id, right? And the other table automatic. See, you know what is a parent table? That is a main table, and the other table becomes current table, right? So current dot add query. This is syntax. Of course, you'll have to memorize. No other go. You remember how did I say g underscore form dot get value in client levels? Similarly, this is server side scripts. So current dot add query. Add query means filter. Like in current table is nothing but this from table, history line table. Add one query called filter, which is nothing but set dot id. Okay, set.id is that comma represents in mind, you put it as is parent dot sys id. That's all. So how did I know set.id is because I just I went to audit history, open new window. I can see all of these records, but how do I filter down is I can see set is show some, specific thing. So I do a show matching, but when I do a copy query, What do I get? I get something like EB something, right? But my incident society does not starts with EB. It starts with A9. Oh, then what is this? Again, the question arises, right? So if you see it is an underline. Underline means it is a referencing to some other table. So I open up this and I see that it takes me to another table. Here only it says incident, right? So you need to know the backend name of this and backend name of this field. So the backend name of set field is set, and the backend name of id field is id. I'll show you. Show id, right? Small case id, and the backend name of this is set. You can find it from your. I just did copy query, right? So it says set. So the value that I want to retrieve is set dot id dot walking. So the value of set ID is nothing but my instance SID. Show me all the records. This is the instruction I'm going to give to my system, right? Again, repeating you, when you go into development, you like at one point of time you'll get confused. Oh, which table should I put it as applies to and queries? Just in your mind, do some mapping and logic. Applies to represents which table you want to show it, and queries table is the whichever table you want to bring the information from, right? From. And then again here also applies to is nothing but the parent table, and the other table is obviously the current table. So this is a simple logic. Like this you could create complicated logics as well. Any questions on this? All right, I take that as a no, and I'll ask the admin to record this session on the drive. um, And tomorrow, would you be able to check, check your schedules and let me know if you guys are available over the weekends? Because we're right now 1 day short because we had to retake the yesterday session again today. So we had 1 day short in our schedule. How about having some 2 to 3 hour sessions with 10 minutes break in between on Saturday or Sunday, anytime of your convenience? Just share your available slots, and we will try to pick out whichever slot is common for all of you people. So we will try to cover some 2 to 3 chapters on the same day, so that we will this is like forcing, like in future if you want to retake a session, we will still have time, right? When we take 3 2 sessions on the same day, it will be better. Just for this weekend, check for your slots, available timings, your plans for the weekend and everything. If all of you are available, I'm ready. um, I'm okay to take the sessions on weekend. So if not, we will just continue with the weekday sessions. I'll stop the recording for now.